Marcus Adeyemi pressed his foot on the brake and let the engine of his black Mercedes go quiet. He sat there, hands gripping the steering wheel, eyes fixed on the narrow road ahead, the same road he had run down barefoot as a child, chasing fireflies in the evening dust. The welcome sign was still there, faded and crooked, just like he remembered. Okafor Junction. Population, 3,400. A small town. An ordinary town. His town. Or at least, it used to be. He exhaled slowly and loosened his tie. He had driven 4 hours from Lagos for this moment. 4 hours of rehearsing exactly what he would say, exactly how he would walk, exactly which expression he would wear when the people of Okafor Junction saw what Marcus Adeyemi had become. He imagined the whispers, the wide eyes, the quiet shame of every person who had ever doubted him. He imagined it all, and it had felt good. But now, sitting just outside the town's edge, something cold and uninvited had settled in his chest. Something he could not name. He pushed it aside, straightened his jacket, and drove in. Marcus did not always wear a tie. There was a time when he wore the same torn school shirt 3 days in a row because his mother, Mama Ngozi, could not afford a second one. They lived in a 2-room house at the edge of Okafor Junction where the roof leaked when it rained and the walls held the smell of kerosene and boiled yam. They were poor in the way that is quiet and heavy, not dramatic, just constant. But Marcus had fire. Everyone could see it. His childhood best friend, Emeka, used to say, "Marcus, your eyes look like a man who is planning something." And Marcus always laughed and said, "I am always planning something." It was Emeka who first believed in him. It was Emeka who sat with him under the mango tree behind the primary school, listening as Marcus talked about business, about money, about leaving Okafor Junction and becoming someone the world could not ignore. Emeka listened with the patience of a brother. He even contributed his own savings, every kobo he had, when Marcus said he had an idea for a small trading business. "We do it together," Emeka said. "We both get out together." There was also Adaeze. Beautiful, quiet Adaeze, who used to bring Marcus food when his mother was sick and money was tighter than usual. She never asked for anything. She just loved him with the kind of love that does not announce itself. She believed he would be great. She told him so on the night he was preparing to leave for Lagos. "Come back for me," she whispered. And he had held her face in his hands and said, "I will. I promise I will." He did not keep that promise. Lagos swallowed Marcus whole and he let it. The city had no room for sentiment and he decided quickly that neither did he. When the trading business began to grow, he made a decision that he buried so deep he almost convinced himself it never happened. The original idea, the contacts, the supply chain, the entire foundation of what became Adeyemi Ventures, had come from a late-night conversation with Emeka. But Emeka's name appeared nowhere in the paperwork. Marcus told himself it was business. He told himself Emeka would have slowed him down. He told himself a lot of things in those early years. His mother called every week in the beginning. Then every month. Then the calls became short and strained. When she fell ill and needed money for hospital, Marcus sent just enough to keep her alive but never enough to truly heal her. He was investing, he told himself. He could not afford to be distracted. When Mama Ngozi died 2 years later, Marcus sent money for the burial and did not attend. There was a deal closing that week. He told himself she would have understood. Adaeze stopped waiting after the 3rd year of silence. By year 5, Adeyemi Ventures was worth more money than everyone in Okafor Junction combined would see in 3 lifetimes. Marcus had made it. He had a penthouse, a driver, 3 cars, and a name that appeared in business magazines. He had become exactly what he said he would become. And yet, on a random Tuesday morning, sitting at the head of a long conference table while his employees presented quarterly reports, Marcus felt something crack open inside him. He looked around the room at people who feared him and called it respect. He thought about his penthouse and how silent it was at night. He thought about Okafor Junction. He thought about the mango tree. He thought about Emeka's laugh. He decided he would go back. He would drive into that town in his Mercedes and show them all. He would prove that every sacrifice was worth it. The town looked smaller than he remembered. The streets were still unpaved in places, and children ran between the compounds playing the same games Marcus had played 30 years ago. He drove slowly, partly because of the narrow road and partly because something in him was reluctant. His heart was beating in a way that had nothing to do with excitement. He parked near the old market and stepped out. The first person to see him was a woman who had been his mother's neighbor. She looked at him for a long moment. Then she turned away and continued arranging her tomatoes without a word. Marcus told himself she had not recognized him. He straightened his jacket and walked further in. Then he saw Emeka. His old friend was coming out of a small shop across the road. He had aged, yes, but he was still Emeka, the same broad shoulders, the same slow walk. Marcus raised his hand and called out, "Emeka, brother, it is me." Emeka stopped. He looked at Marcus for what felt like a very long time. His face did not carry anger. It did not carry bitterness. It carried something far worse. It carried nothing. A flat, quiet emptiness that said everything words could not. "Marcus," he said simply. Then he nodded once and walked away. Marcus stood in the middle of the road and did not move. He wanted to call out again. He wanted to run after him. But his legs would not cooperate. He turned and walked toward the part of town where Adaze's family still lived. He did not know what he was hoping for. Perhaps just a familiar face that would look at him with something warm. He found her outside, hanging clothes on a line. She was still beautiful. She had a child on her hip and a life that had clearly continued without him. She saw him and she paused. And then she looked at him the way one looks at a stranger who has wandered onto the wrong street. Not with hatred, not with longing, with simple, devastating indifference. "Adaeze," he said, his voice smaller than he intended. She unclipped a dress from the line, folded it neatly, and without a word, took her child inside and closed the door. Marcus walked back to his car slowly. The children playing in the street did not know who he was. The traders in the market did not pause for him. The town moved around him like water around a stone, not hostile, just completely unbothered by his presence. He sat in the driver's seat and did not start the engine. Outside, the sun was beginning to lower itself behind the trees, painting the sky in the deep orange that Marcus had watched every evening as a boy from his mother's doorstep. The same sky, the same trees, the same road, everything was the same, except him. He pressed his palms against his eyes and for the first time in many years, Marcus Adeyemi wept. Not quietly. He wept the way a man weeps when he has held something in for so long that his chest cannot hold it anymore. He wept for his mother, who died without her son beside her. He wept for Emeka, who had trusted him with his dreams. He wept for Adaeze, who had loved him before he was worth anything. He wept for the boy who used to chase fireflies on this very road and who had somewhere along the way, gotten terribly, irreversibly lost. He could drive through Okafor Junction. No one could stop him. But he could not enter it. Not really. Because a home is not a place you return to with a Mercedes and an expensive suit. A home is the people who still make room for you when you arrive. And Marcus had made sure, one betrayal at a time, that no room remained. He started the engine. He drove back to Lagos alone. And the town continued its evening, unbothered, whole, and completely at peace without him. Some prices are paid not at the moment of the choice, but years later, at the gate of everything you left behind.